Okay, I am back. So it seems to be fine. I think that I'm just going to kind of let it live around there. It seems to be pushing out through one headphone, so if anything, I am just going to duplicate the track and push it through both. I'm not certain why it would push through only one side, but maybe it won't once I get it all recorded and exported. But so let's get started. It was funny because I'm still learning to get all the tools together and figure out all the different pieces. And, part of just doing things like this is learning all the different tricks and that sort of stuff to get better and better over time with the stuff that you're working on. But it's funny, I was putting on the headphones just to check the levels, and is listening to NPR as well. I don't know. I don't know if it's something in the setup that is getting the radio transmission for NPR, but hey, NPR. I support NPR, and I'm kind of surprised that was the program that was showing up on here. Anyway, this is season 2, episode 3, I believe, episode 4. And basically, what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about dating and relationships. And I think I went into dating prep last episode. And I know that there's sometimes can be a span between episodes, and I apologize for that. Basically, what happens is either life or just things happen that kind of get in the way of, me being able to get in and do these podcasts. So I tried to get them out as regular as I can. I had a lot of deadlines. I was working a lot of hours. So I was hoping to get stuff done and then be able to get back on to recording the podcast again. But it just took a while to get everything wrapped up with work. But now things have chilled out. I'm not working weekends. I'm not working. Basically, I was working from 6 in the morning till 10 at night for a bit. And now that kind of rushes over. So I can get back into the regular rigmarole of just living life and that sort of stuff. Some quick updates on me. Right now, I am still, working through just the challenges of life. I think that one of the things I've kind of learned in the challenges of life is that you just got to keep plugging along. And I think this goes to dating, this goes to anything that you're trying to achieve in life. If you've got chronic pain or if you are just struggling one way or another, there is this mentality, I think, that is very important of just, keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep trying. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just putting one foot in front of the other. I keep plugging along. Am I perfect at it? No. Am I expecting myself to be perfect at it? No. But I'm going to try harder. I'm going to do better each day. And we'll see where it goes. What is beautiful is we're all unique individuals and we bring different things to the table. And I think it is so important to understand your value and the things that you bring to the table that are different and unique to other people, and appreciate that and grow from that. And don't let others drive you from that. Don't let others take your individuality away from you. Don't conform to what others want. Be you. Be that unique person. And I think that's a hard thing to learn. And that's something I've been navigating through. It's just getting back to that. And especially where I was so busy and I had so many different things going on. It was a bit of identity crisis for a little bit where I finally had to, sit down and really do some self-reflection and really sit down and think about, okay, here's the things I want to focus on, here's the things I want to do, and that sort of stuff is, it's kind of funny how you can get so caught up in just one thing after another and really end up hurting yourself. So part of what I did is I sat down and I had to sit down and say, I don't care. What I care about are these things. How can I be authentic to myself without the pressures of what others think is right for me? How do I care too much? And do I care too much? And do I conform too much to what others think? And I was listening to this meditation on YouTube, and in the meditation, it kind of really resonated with me where, we're almost like a phoenix rising. Like if you can picture yourself coming to your authentic self, and you almost picture yourself like a moth in a cocoon, and the cocoon is just in complete like light that's the color of the sun. So it has bright yellow and white and orange, and you're in this cocoon, and the cocoon is weaving around you, and then you're in there, and then you kind of burst out of the cocoon, and your wings are just made of this light, and this light is your authenticity. It's being authentic to you. So I had to write down kind of my values, and one of the things I really resonated on was just being a good person. And one thing I really want to work towards is being less judgmental towards others and being more loving towards others regardless of their circumstances. And I am going to be recording a podcast on just the things of the world, but and how to cope with that. But I think that part of being a good person for me was just contributing and caring for others. And one person, who was it? Oh, Russell Brand. So Russell Brand isn't, I I like Russell Brand, and he's kind of a bit much sometimes, but I like him. And one of the things he kind of looked at, he's like, well, I've never had kids, so I'm kind of a parent for all the people. And in a certain way, I get that. And I think that, my feelings about it is I want to share as much as I can with everyone. And I want to, do this in a way that's authentic to me and in a way that's authentic to my specific situation, and try to help others and try to be a good person and try to overcome myself and the struggles I have. And that's where I feel like if I can share my experiences and everything with you, this is one way that I can contribute back into the world. And even if it's the smallest audience, the smallest experience, it's all about balance, is that give and take, and, putting something out there and wanting nothing in return but love and understanding. I think that those things are values for me. So like with the podcast, I'm not necessarily creating it for money. I'm not creating it for anything but just sharing my experiences, and hopefully this helps someone. Hopefully there's someone out there that gets some value out of this. Well, I'm going to get off my little soapbox for a moment, but what I'll say is we're going to dive into dating and relationships this time. And I'm going to take my time on it, so this might be a longer episode, but we'll just kind of dig through it and talk about it. So dating is an interesting experience, and dating is something that is nerve-wracking when you're first getting into it. I think that there is someone out there for everyone. And I'll repeat this, there's someone out there for everyone. There's someone out there for you, but you got to be brave enough to get out there and find that someone, and vice versa. So you got to, the person that your person has to be out there, brave enough to put themselves out there to find someone as well. And that's how you find matches. And I know many people who find love matches. I know there's 90-year-olds that are in retirement homes that are finding love. And I know that there are plethora of people of different backgrounds, of different, you know, everything, like a spectrum of different people find love. And regardless of your circumstances, regardless of how you feel you look, regardless of all the challenges, I truly believe in my heart that we're all capable of finding love. And so finding love, I feel like, can sometimes be the easiest part of it, but finding your person is the challenging part. And finding someone who you can love and receive love back is the challenging part. So with dating, I think that, you know, how I look at dating, and this is just how I look at it, is it's interviewing. Basically, you are interviewing another person and you're trying to figure out if they're a fit. And I want to go through some of my dating experiences and just share them with you, and then let you kind of decide how your dating experiences will be, of course. So this is just my experiences, and this does not need to be your experiences, and I'm not expecting that it will be. But here's what I'll say about dating is, when you first start dating, it can be nerve-wracking, and it can be something where you have a lot of, I think that when I first started dating, I was very concerned about myself. So I was very concerned about how I looked. I was very concerned about how I came across. I was very concerned about a lot of different things. And definitely with dating, you want to present yourself just like you would interviewing. You want to be professional. You want to be the person that's authentic to you, so that you can find your person. And when I say professional, what I'm trying to say in that word is I'm trying to say authenticity. So you're putting up like a good version of yourself. It was kind of funny because I was listening to this YouTube video a while ago, and they're talking about Lego. And so the guy was talking about how what you do in your dating and you're a Lego person is you don't tell them and you're into Lego like immediately when you start dating. And here's what I'll say to that. So I kind of agree with that statement. I don't think that when you're dating, you need to discuss every single thing about yourself, and especially things that are more of an term of endearment versus, a flaw. And so what I can say is like our interest in that kind of stuff. When you're dating, I don't know if I think that your interests are important, but I think that the focus shouldn't be on your specific interests. I think that you should focus on mutual interests. So, and I think that keeping it pretty generic actually works out pretty good, because then you can kind of approach the dating experience, kind of what you're into, and there are generic things you gotta be into. So like for me, I'm really into hiking, running. I really like getting outside into nature. I really like the ocean. I really love walking around cities. I love traveling. Those are pretty generic items that a lot of people like. And so if you can find things that are pretty generic that everyone likes, it makes it easier to find commonality. And then as you get to know each other, start introducing more interesting things. And of course, if you have something that's interesting, like someone that's into, let's see, what would be an interesting thing, like someone that's into like rock climbing, that would be an interesting thing. Or someone that's really into music, I would find that interesting. It's just putting interesting things out there that you think generically would be interesting to people. But then there are things you're going to play down until you get to know them better, which for me, like things I'd play down is I'd probably play down my I I do build Legos, so I would probably play that down. Other things I'd play down is my obsession with clothing. I do love clothing, and so I would probably play that down. Although I want to look nice, so I want to look professional. I wouldn't talk about how much clothes I have. So there's just things that they'll get to know about you over time that you just don't need to introduce in the beginning. And I like to keep the conversations generic because this is a stranger too. So as you're getting to meet people, you want to keep the conversation just very light, very, it's almost like how's the weather type of conversation. And try to have a couple of stories that you can have in your back pocket, something funny that you can kind of share. It could be something that you share just about your going over to the date, or if you're going to a restaurant and you've been to before, you can talk about, oh yeah, I've been here before, they have really good dot dot dot, and whatever. It could be anything. But when you go into the date, I think there's some things you want to do. One, clean up. So definitely make an effort into your appearance. So definitely show that you're on your best effort to make your appearance look the best you can. So shower, shave, if you're a guy or a girl, who cares, or not shave, but be authentic to you, but try to be as cleaned up as you can be for whatever it is. So if you're into goth or something like that, at least be cleaned up goth, look really like cute goth, and really try to just put your best efforts forward into your appearance and that sort of stuff. So I think that's step number one, just like you would with an interview. I think that there's a lot of parallels to interviews. In step two, go in like you're meeting a friend. And I hate to say this, but it's really true. Like you don't know if there's a love connection yet, and so it's really awkward if you're going in going, oh, we're gonna hook up, or oh, we're gonna just immediately fall in love. It's just not reality. I mean, there's a lot of components that need to happen for love to occur, and you got to be, like you may get their picture and think, oh, they're really cute, but then get in person and go, not my type. But you don't know that until you meet them, and this is why I think meeting them is really important. But I think that going in with, and this is how I would advise people to do job interviewing too, don't go in thinking, oh, this is the job for me. Really, what you should go in with is, put up your best person that you can, and then hopefully they're putting up their best person, and then hopefully there's a connection that can be made there, or at least you can maybe walk away with a friend. You never know. And so just have an open mind and just dive in. And, I think that like when I first meet someone, I'm, very friendly. I'm just like, hi, how are you doing? I just come up with topics of conversation. Like if I were to meet out on a date right now, I'd be like, hey, how are you doing? What do you like to do for fun? That's kind of a Seattle thing. In the East Coast, they'll probably go, what do you do? So what kind of living do you make? But in Seattle, I think we're more, what do you like to do for fun? So you can start with that kind of light conversation. And, basically it's an interview. Basically, you're trying to get to know the person. So you should have some questions in your back pocket that you can kind of talk about and then be able to answer yourself. So, like common questions you could have is, what do you like to do for fun? Have you been in the area? Are you from here? It's just a lot of different questions that just help guide you to get to know someone. And then if they say, "Oh, I really like biking," you can say, "Oh, what kind of trails do you like to go on?" Or do you like, here we have our Burke Gilman Trail, which is a biking trail. "Oh, have you ever checked out the Burke Gilman?" And just kind of keep the conversation flowing that way. And what I'll say is you'll know, I think, so this is what I think with interviewing, and I think this with dating, you'll know in the first 5 minutes if there's a connection. It's just the way it works. So if it's awkward, then you just know. And so some of my dating experience has been, just to give you some examples, there's been dating experiences where they're pretty blasé, where, we got to meet each other. It wasn't working one way or the other, and it was fine. So I was attracted to them and they weren't to me, and I can kind of sense that. And I'm like, okay, it's good to meet you. Let's chat again sometime. And then there's other people where I connected with them, they connected with me, but it wasn't romantic, and we were friends. And then there were times where the person was horrible and I exited stage door left. And then there were times where I wasn't in the best space, and I just kind of ruined the date myself. I mean, it kind of goes all the way around. And so there isn't like a perfect moment in this. So basically what I think is good is getting lots of practice. In fact, one of the best pieces of advice I got, as far as interviewing, and I think this is pretty applicable to dating, if you're really nervous, and I really feel strongly you should get a lot of dates under your belt. It should become almost secondhand to you. And you just get through the uncomfortableness. So then what you're trying to do is you're trying to find that connection, but you're just past the uncomfortableness of dating because you've done it so much that you just know the rigmarole, and you just know, oh, this is going to work out or it's not going to work out. So like dates I've had that, didn't work out. I'll have a couple of good examples. I went on a date, met at a coffee shop, and for some reason we started talking about road construction. I think that is because he was in like a commuting mode and had been commuting. There's some road construction, and I was like, yeah, the road construction is not fun at all, but I can see the value of it. And he's like, well, I don't see the value of road construction. I'm like, well, that's okay. You're entitled to your opinion. I think that it's something that it's necessary. And he's like, you're totally wrong. They shouldn't be doing it. And I'm like, and at that point, I'm like, okay, I got to exit the stage door left. So I actually, and I think it was road construction. I believe it is that. And it's so stupid. But in that specific instance, I let it sit for about 15 minutes. I was just sitting there chatting, and he got more and more disagreeable. And so then at some point, he's like, oh, you know what? I looked at my watch and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I just realized I have to get to this other obligation I have, but it's really great to meet you, and good luck. And then I took off. It was horrible. And then that's happened to me on the flip side. So, I went on a date with this person in downtown Seattle, and, I got informed I was talking too much. And yes, I do talk a lot. So I was not shocked by that. But I was just surprised that me talking too much, especially where most people are quiet on dates. And that's one of the things is I think it is good to talk. And I think it's good to be able to be a conversationalist. And I think sometimes you have to power through the uncomfortableness. But there's going to be two things I'll add right now. And this is our challenges because I am a talker, so they weren't far off. So in order to date me, you'd have to tolerate a lot of talking. But so what I'll say to that is that one, I think that silence is okay. So in conversations, it's okay to have moments of awkward silence. And I would even say this. I would say that it's even better to have awkward silence sometimes, because sometimes someone will say something that will give you a hint of, oh, I don't want to go down this road with this person. So it is good to just have like a moment of silence. See how kind of awkward that was? But it's just, it feels weird. But if you can get used to it, sometimes people say some pretty interesting things. So, like when I'm interviewing, sometimes I allow for that silence just to see what the other person's going to say because I'm curious about it. The other thing you can do is if you find that you're talking a lot, then it might be good to try to probe them to talk more if you can. So ask questions about them, especially if the focus is on you a lot. Try to get them to talk a bit more and try to show interest in them. And it may be that the if you're talking a lot and you're telling everything about yourself, it may be that you're not interested in them. It just may be that you're like, yeah, I'm not really as interested in you as I want to be. You look good on paper and you look good in person, but I'm just not interested. And that's okay. It's okay not to be interested. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think that when you're looking for a match for you, your specific needs are going to be so distinctive that you just got to dig through a lot of people to find that right person, and that person that you know does it for you. So let's talk about then what you want to do is don't set expectations when you go into the date. So don't have expectations. Just go in, with, I'm just meeting this person. We'll see how it goes. Ask all the good questions that you can. If the date fails, don't beat yourself up or beat them up, no matter how hot you think they are, how wonderful you think they are. It's just not the right person, and that's okay. I think that when you find that right person, you'll know it. And I'm going to tell you how I know when I find that right person is the conversation flows easily. Like usually I find that with it, when I'm getting close to the right person, the conversation flows so easily that it's like I'm like with a really good friend, and there's no effort. It's effortless. It's very easy. You guys, the flow is just very in sync. And then the second thing you want to look for is if you're interested in them, you should look for interest from them, too. So there might be there's some body signals you can look for. So here's kind of the body signals you want to look for. If they have their arms crossed, they're not interested. They're closing themselves off. If they open their arms and they have kind of just an open stance, that means that they're open to you and they're having good kind of stuff. If they and so this is one of the key pieces of ways you can get nonverbal affirmations. Look at their feet and see if their feet are pointed towards you. So if their feet are pointed towards you, that means unconsciously they're attracted to you. That means that they are paying attention to you, that there's something there. And you can see because they'll be staring in your eyes, they'll have an open stance, their feet will be pointing towards you. So there's some non-verbal communication that you want to look for. If they have their arms crossed, if they've got their feet turned away, if they keep looking at their watch, or if they keep looking away at other people, then you know that there's not a lot of interest there. So you can pick up on a lot of nonverbal communication that will help you. But usually with the nonverbal communication and then how the flow of the conversation's going, you can figure it out. And then you're like, okay, I see how this is going. I see kind of what's going on here. And then you can make a decision. Do I want to try to make a friend out of this person, or do I want to just, cut and go? And, usually I'm courteous, so that with that one person, I cut it off early because I deserved more respect than just be treated rudely, so I just was done. But usually, even on a bad date, I'll try to finish it off and try to be cordial and friendly, and then, let it go. But I'm definitely sending out the nonverbal communication to help them understand that, I, see you as a friend, or I think you're a nice person, but you're not the one, and vice versa. So then I'm not. And I think the hard part is not beating yourself up if you're not the right person for them. And the only way you can really do that is through a lot of dating, where you have experiences where they're rejecting you, and you have experiences where you're rejecting them, and then you realize your value and what you bring to the table, and they realize their value and what they bring to the table, and eventually you find that person that meets right where you're at. And it takes a lot of dating, I'm going to tell you. I think that, and you'll have even, so once you get past the dating, you start like getting more serious. It's a long, slow road to figure it all out and to really understand if this is the right person for you. And, then we talk about relationships. So once you get past the dating and you get into relationships, then it becomes a whole other ball game, because at that point, you've fallen in love with each other and you care deeply for each other, and then you start seeing the other's flaws and you start seeing the other's idiosyncrasies, and then you kind of have to navigate through a relationship. And what I will say about relationships are this is dating is one game, and it's a game that, it's just part of being humanity. I think that relationships is part of being with humanity. I think there's a lot of value that comes out of relationships. I think there's a lot of value that goes into dating. I think that having someone in your life that you love is phenomenal. I really do. And I think it's something that you just shouldn't throw away at a drop of a hat. I think it is something that's very valuable and something that you have to cherish. But they are challenging. They can be very loving. They can be very rewarding. You can know that someone's always there for you. You can know that in the end, every day, that person comes home to you and they're there. And then it's understanding the dynamics of the relationship and what type of relationship you have that is important, and understanding that not every relationship is exactly the same. Every relationship has their challenges. Every relationship has their, happiness. Some relationships are going to be argue all the time. Some relationships are going to be very cooperative, and some arguing. I would argue that if you don't get in disputes every so often, that then there might be something going on there. But if you're having interactions with a human being, you're going to have times where it goes great. You're going to have times when it doesn't. It's just part of life. And so I say exercise patience. There are so many challenges in relationships that once you're in one and this is the person, you have to ride through a lot of crap. And then you have to ride through the successes too. Like, it's life. You're living life with another person at that point. And each relationship is going to be so unique and different that, I think that the biggest fault in our society as far as relationships is wanting perfection. And I think that, you know, we have this self-righteous, I deserve X. And I think that in reality, each relationship is so uniquely different. And yes, you deserve to have the things, and you deserve this, and this is definitely one thing you deserve. You deserve to be your authentic self. You shouldn't change yourself in a relationship. You should be authentic to who you are, and your partner should be authentic to who they are, and you love and respect each other for those differences. And if you're in a relationship where someone's trying to change you or something like that, then that's not good. If you're in a relationship that's abusive, that's not good. If you're in a relationship that, an abusive meaning physically and mentally abusive, that's really bad. And you know, and I'll state this about just domestic abuse and that sort of stuff. The other person won't change, and even if they wanted the change, it's going to take them 10 plus years to change. And do you have 10 plus years to stay with this person even if they wanted to change? And so at that point, then you got to start getting your exit strategy. And usually in abusive relationships, your exit strategy has to be flee and hide. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I've been through those relationships, and I had to flee and hide, and it wasn't fun. I was getting stalked, but it I learned a lot from it, and I learned a lot about myself out of that relationship. But don't mess around with crazy people, and if they are crazy, you got to count for everything. And I would prefer to overestimate what they're going to do than underestimate and then end up in trouble. So, and I would argue that your life and your happiness is more important than that person. And one set of videos I always go back to, in this is where you're coming out of relationship, is it gets better. I always look at those videos because it does get better. Like, life does get better after a major change. It just hurts and it's very painful during the time that it's happening. But it gets better. But I would argue that it's hard to find the right person. And so once you get in a relationship, cherish that and try to make it work if you can, especially if you guys get along and you like a lot of the same things, and you find someone who can work with your idiosyncrasies. It's important. It's something that I can't emphasize enough. Just generally, I would say that we're serving our partner, and sometimes they're serving us. Sometimes you're in harmony, sometimes you're not. The gifts cannot be measured by money, material goods, or pure admiration. The gifts that are valuable in a relationship are the support, love, understanding, and the oneness you experience with another person. And, I think that's very true. I think that the love and the experience you can give someone is a greater gift than anything else. And, it's getting through those challenges and hardships and knowing the other person well enough to not let one particular moment drive how you see the person, but rather letting a series of moments, and letting, like, just the essence of who they are and who you love, what you love about them, be the reason, and be that. And yeah, there's no easy answers with relationships. I just think that having this expectation that you're going to be able to Instagram your relationship or be able to have this perfection in relationships is just garbage. It's just not reality. I've not met a couple where they're just absolutely euphoric, and happy. That it's just the nature of being human, that it's going to take a lot of work. But the rewards from that work are valuable. And having that person, if you have a bad day, there for you, or, be able to hug and just have that person there, or, just being able to go on a vacation together, or just, knowing that when you get home, that person is there in some form or fashion. I think that's important. And I think there's value in that. But, some people aren't meant for relationships too, and that's okay. It's just, you got to figure out what's right for you, and you got to navigate towards that. But I hope this helped. I hope this helped in just discussing dating. I hope this helped in just going over relationships and, all that fun stuff. It's just life. Like, life is messy. It's got its ups and downs, and no one's perfect, and we're just trying to do the best we can with what we got. And, it's just keep plugging along, keep trying, go through life, and look for the moments of happiness, look for the moments where there's magic. And that's one thing I really love about dating relationships, is the magic of it, that you can have those magical moments of just happiness. And those are what I live for. I'm of the mindset that you can never just be eternally happy. You're gonna have good days. You're gonna have bad days. You're gonna have good days in your relationship, bad days in your relationship, and it's just the nature of the beast. And your partner's gonna have their challenges. You're gonna have your challenges, and you just kind of navigate through it day by day. But regardless, thank you for listening. I hope that you have an amazing time between now and our next episode. If you want to reach out, you can reach me at How to Love Living, or contact at howtoloveliving.com. I am going to be posting this out on YouTube. I'm going to try to get all the episodes up there. I finally got back into After Effects and figured out how to get my little equalizer to show up. And then eventually I do want to get back into creating videos. That will be down the road, but for now it's audio on podcasts and then on YouTube, and we're going to go from there. Well, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good time.